Let's get to the big three.
Number 3.
What you said in this book is you're angry at the people who tried to push him out.
Yes, that's correct.
Some Americans are going to say, seriously?
But not just the party that pushed him out, the party as it's behaving today.
You said you're a member of the inner circle and you never saw the decline. And after that, I wrote, how?
Right. She wrote in her own books and she read her own comments. That's on CBS. Clueless KJP still thinks she can snow America while Democrats get some early rankings on who they like in 2028.
Number 2.
I read a poll this morning that said, a lot of Americans are starting to blame Democrats for the government shutdown. And it's just simply because Republicans are better at messaging than Democrats will ever be. I can't believe Democrats still haven't figured out how to message.
Day 21 of the government shutdown with no end in sight. What will it take to end the Schumer-induced deadlock? We're going to bring you the latest from D.C.
Number 1.
We're the only 2 candidates that agree that billionaires shouldn't determine the future of this city are the Democratic nominee and the Republican nominee. That is one place where Curtis and I agree. My advice to him is continue to make his own case.
Right, because in a 3-man race, Mamdani really stands to benefit. Pressure builds on Curtis Sliwa to drop out of the New York City mayoral race and allow Cuomo and Mamdani to go one-on-one. Will it make a difference? Will Curtis bow out? We're going to examine the panic spread throughout Virginia and New Jersey as 2 bluish states are having a real run for their money to see who's going to be the chief executive of both those states, respectively. And let's bring in Bret Baier. And Bret, before we get into to rescue the American spirit, let's talk about these 2 races. If Democrats wanted to send a message in the off-year election, the fact that if this ends up even close, does that blunt that message? Because both were favored, both Democratic candidates were favored to win big.
100% it blunts the message. And it splits the party. These are 2 candidates that I think Democrats thought were well positioned in Virginia and New Jersey for big wins. And I think Abigail Spanberger is for moderate Democrats, somebody who, speaks the speak that they want out and about. Mm-hmm. However, she's kind of run into a buzzsaw, and it is tight. And, we talked about it. The Trafalgar poll last week had it at 3 points. If you're at 3 points, that's within the margin of error in a purple state where anything can happen.
So Trump lost by 15 and then by about 6 in the last election in New Jersey. But Jack Ciattarelli's been strong against Phil Murphy, loses by 3, a sitting governor. And now he thinks he's a lot closer than 5, which was the last, I think, Quinnipiac poll. Here's Jack Ciattarelli yesterday, cut 14.
Not to be disagreeable, but our polls have it much closer, and I think it's the reason why you've seen my opponent get so desperate with her attacks, her blatant lies, one of which is going to land her in court. Shannon, I only have 2021 to compare this to. You remember how close that was? I really thought we were going to win this race, that race. This one is very different. The energy across the state is electric. The reception in minority communities has been great, and I'm being endorsed by prominent Democrats. That tells you all you need to know in terms of the people in New Jersey wanting change, and that's what this election is all about, change.
So he's gonna run through the tape, and Mikey Sherrill has not been a strong candidate.
No, it feels in both cases, in New Jersey with Mikey Sherrill and in Virginia with Abigail Spanberger, that it's sort of like a prevent defense. They were kind of holding on to leads and then just holding the ball. And as we've seen with basketball teams in the end, or football teams, oftentimes that doesn't work if you're still not on the offensive.
How dare you bring up the Giants and the way they lost against Denver. My God.
I wasn't going to go there.
Okay, sorry.
I wasn't going to go
slow you
there.
down.
But I do think that it feels like that, and it feels like momentum is on both Republicans' side. Now, in the New York mayor's race, it's a totally different story.
True. But before we go, I want you to hear this moment. Mikey Sherrill on with Charlemagne the God. She doesn't have answers to questions like, why were you able to walk at your graduation from the academy with this cheating scandal? Her story has changed. What is your agenda? She had no answer when was asked by a local affiliate here in New York City, and then was confronted with her inside stock trade allegations, which got her fined on the Breakfast Club. Listen to this exchange, cut 15.
Well, did you make $7 million in stock trades at all?
I haven't. I don't believe I did, but I'd have to go see what that was alluding to.
If you get an opportunity to just clear it up, I think you should take it now. It says she made millions on the stock market, tripling her net worth while in Congress, and was then fined for unreported trades. Is that true or false?
So I think we made money from my husband's job. He gets paid in stocks. They're automatically sold. So I think we made money there.
Good answer?
Holy cow.
Terrible, right?
So bad.
Terrible.
So bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is like if people are looking for a strong candidate, I know you want to vote party if you're a Democrat, but you should vote competence, especially when you talk about chief executive of a state.
Yeah, and more importantly, I think in the debate when Chitterelli says, I'm not going to raise sales tax, and then the question goes to her, and she says, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. And it's like, well, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
What are you saying?
Right. And then she says, I'm going to freeze the price. I'm going to freeze utility. Because you can't freeze things. You can freeze things, but you're just going to pay the price with utilities. But you know what's also happening in real time, Bret? This whole green fever that the world's been running on is broken between the AI and the need for power, which is have people looking to alternative means, to the utility costs and that her choosing, along with New York, not to and Massachusetts, not to be involved in the pipeline that Pennsylvania is in order to fuel their natural gas and energy for their state. They thought we're just going to do it with solar panels, and we're going to do it with different renewables. It hasn't worked out, and now the people's utility bills are doubling, and that's what people are going to vote on.
Yeah, I think so, and that's a major thing for every family if your electric bill is up double.
So today is it's time to rescue the American spirit. What landed you on this project?
Listen, Teddy Roosevelt, as you well know, is a character, and the anecdotes about his life are just really chock full of detail. He is somebody who is passionate and energetic and jumps off the page, but I wanted to look at his focus on America and leaning forward and the global situation where he really wants to, and his great-grandson Tweed Roosevelt said he would want to be remembered for leaning forward and making America a great power throughout the world. And I think, there's a lot of things that he does. He redefines the presidency. As I said on Fox and Friends, 1 through 25 presidents, 1,200 executive orders. He signs 1,300 executive orders. 1,300. President Trump in his first term had 220. Up until now, he has 210. So, I mean, that's a lot of executive action that President Roosevelt
And he's a young guy. So a guy that's known to be robust and physical, used to box in the White House. It started off anything but that. The family had money, but he did not have health. Listen to this. This is a cut from your Fox Nation special, now available on To Rescue the American Spirit. Cut 49.
From the beginning, the survival of Theodore Roosevelt was very much in doubt. His mother did not think that her son would live past 4 or 5 years old.
Through childhood, he watched the outside world from behind a window.
His asthma was so bad that it restricted him to the indoors, so much so that he craved to go outside. He craved to be in nature.
Because of his ailments, he was basically homeschooled throughout his youth, and he had tutors. But even so, he was very bright. He was extremely interested in science in particular.
So he read everything because he couldn't go anywhere, homeschooled, but then he overcompensated perhaps by being this robust adult.
Yeah, and largely because his dad bucked him up and said, you need to be a bigger character. You need to work out. You need to be bold and strong. And he loved the outdoors. He thought he was going to be a scientist. He collected specimens of all kinds. In fact, his family would travel overseas to Europe, and his brother Elliot was his roommate. And he went to his dad and said, Dad, I need my own room. And he said, Elliot, why do you need your own room? And he said, come with me. And he walked down the hall, went into the room, and there were all these dead birds and specimens and entrails in the basin of the tub because Teddy Roosevelt collected everything. And he was like, he's outdoors
and stuffed
guy.
them. Right.
Yes, and the father said, okay, Elliot, you get your own room.
So here is Teddy Roosevelt had his ailments. He said that, he looked up to his dad. But the one thing his dad didn't do was fight in the Civil War. And he paid someone to fight for him. And he said that he always said his dad regretted it because his mom says, please don't fight in this war. I have relatives down south. I don't want you shooting for other family members. So he did. It was a big regret. And that's why Teddy Roosevelt, personally, I think, was always like thirsting to get involved in a conflict, which had him form the Rough Riders and go fight in Cuba.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think that is direct line because his father didn't, and he felt that he needed to. And, when he resigns from Assistant Secretary of the Navy to get involved in the Spanish-American War in Cuba. He has that experience out in North Dakota with the cowboys and the ranchers. He cobbles together this group as well as his friends from Harvard, and it's like this Star Wars bar of fighters that they come together and go to Cuba. He is going over from Florida. He commandeers a boat and realizes that these reporters who were trying to go over there too don't have a boat, so he puts them on his boat. Well, he understands the power of the press, and that's why you get some of these amazing accounts of the Rough Riders on San Juan Hill.
And I'll tell you what, two other people in history do. Andrew Jackson liked to fight the press, but know the need for the press. And this other guy named Donald Trump.
100%.
Right? Never stops.
There's a lot of similarities. There's differences, but there's a lot of similarities in the bold actions, the expansion of executive power, but also the knowledge of the press, both fighting them and using them and sucking up all the oxygen in the room.
So Bret's book is out today, so don't blame yourself if you don't have it yet. Now it's time to order it. To Rescue the American Spirit, Teddy Roosevelt and the Birth of a Superpower. We're on the eve of America's 250th birthday. These are the characters that stand out for a reason. And by the way, he did it all not living to 60. So, man, unbelievable what he accomplished. More with Bret Baier in just a moment. All right, we are back. Bret Baier is in studio. Well, Bret's always loyal to the show, but especially when his book's out, To Rescue the American Spirit, Teddy Roosevelt and the Birth of a Superpower. So, Bret, the one thing that people, I don't think really understood, I think that to a degree, I think Teddy Roosevelt wanted American to be proud of their country. And he had a real sense of history. And I think he wanted it to display when he ascended to the chief executive. But as you write in your book, it's a fluke that he's president.
Yeah.
Because they were not happy. He was such a disruptor as governor of New York, coming off being a war hero in Cuba in the Spanish War. They put him there and they couldn't control him.
Yeah.
So it's a fluke that he becomes vice president, which is where careers go to die.
Well, that's why they put him there, is because the establishment Republican Party says, let's stick him here and he can't cause any trouble because he's a troublemaker. You're right. He gets back from the war in Cuba, he's a big hero, and that's in May. The election's in November, and they put him up for New York governor. He becomes New York governor, but because he's such a troublemaker as far as all the things he's trying to do, antitrust, pushing back, representing workers, he felt a real compassion for laborers. The party says, listen, we don't want him to continue to do this, and they put him as vice president. 6 months later, McKinley is shot in Buffalo at the Exposition. Roosevelt goes there. The doctors say they think McKinley's going to be okay. Go back on your vacation. He goes to the Adirondacks in the middle of nowhere, and they have to send out a prospector to find him up in the mountains to tell him that McKinley's turning south. And that's a treacherous ride all the way down to the train station to Buffalo, where he gets there and McKinley's dead.
Why do you think he felt he could do the job? When he becomes president?
I think, well, first of all, when he takes over, he tells the cabinet that he's going to keep them. He tells everyone he's going to keep McKinley's policies. He's going to continue to operate like McKinley would want to. And that lasts for a little while, but not long.
Right.
And he becomes his own man. I think he had a lot of thoughts about how America should be aggressive, the conservation element. Think about all the things around the country that have been saved and put aside because of Roosevelt.
Yeah, he formed the national park system, one of the many things he's done. But with these contradictory, like the Republicans have this sense of a party of big business. And he's from money. The Roosevelts have money. But yet he looked at big business as as a hindrance to the country's growth, a failure to spread out the wealth. That's not a typical Republican axiom.
Right. I mean, he said he was for capitalism, but capitalism had to be for everyone. And so that's how his prism that he looked through. So he fought for laborers. He got involved in a coal mining dispute when the coal miners were on strike. He's the first president to get in the middle of a labor dispute. He files 40 antitrust lawsuits as president. J.P. Morgan is livid with him as he's kind of battling. He says, J.P. Morgan says, why don't you have your guy talk to my guy and we can work this out behind closed doors? And Roosevelt says, that's exactly what I don't want to do, is scratching the back behind closed doors. I want the laborer to be front and center.
So I don't know if you feel the same way, but the word is, before he took that trip and got really sick and ultimately died to Amazon, there was talk about him queuing up again and running for president.
In 20, he was the leading front runner, and
even though he had lost as a split off from the Republican Party, and Woodrow Wilson won 2 terms,
and they blame basically Roosevelt for Woodrow Wilson winning, and they obviously can, because the Bull Moose Party, the Progressive Party, gets the most votes of any independent, more than Ross Perot did against Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush, but. Right. He is in position. He's the leading candidate. And what really kills him is not that trip, but the death of his son, Quentin, who dies in World War I as a fighter pilot. And he's dealt with despair his whole life. His mother and his wife die on the same day, on Valentine's Day. But it's his son dying that really takes his steam out.
Right. And he says one of his big regrets was not saying after he won his election, I'm not going to run for a second term. He said it was a big regret. He almost regretted it from the moment he said it, because then he didn't want to go back on his word.
The man in the arena speech is really talking about him. He wants to get back in the arena.
Right, always. Bret, you're always in the arena. Pick up the book, To Rescue the American Spirit.
Excuse me, sir. I'm so sorry, man. I'm like 2 quarters short. Do you have anything?
Actually, I have one.
One?
Yeah.
Man, that'll work. Hey, a quarter's good, better than nothing. What's your name, man?
Cedric.
Great to meet you. I'm Jimmy. Thank you. Can you hold this for a second? Sure. I got $500 for you. I didn't need your help.
Serious?
Yes. Is it going to help out?
Oh, absolutely. Get my tires fixed to my car. Is this real?
It is, man. Bless you.
You know, it's to the point where I can only get certain things done one at a time. I just got my brakes done.
Yeah, well, why were you helping me out when you're like barely staying afloat yourself?
Truthfully, you know what, to be honest with you, I just started coming around to the point in my life where I'm starting to see people as brothers and sisters. Man, can I hug you one more time? Thanks.
So that is just a slice of Jimmy Dart's life. He's the author of a brand new book called Undercover Kindness, saying yes to love, no to fear, and embracing the life-changing power of ordinary generosity. Jimmy, welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
And the book's out today, right?
Yep, just came out, and hopefully, it encourages people that, ordinary generosity is powerful. I think so often we celebrate someone writing $1 million check or this nonprofit, which those things are great, but it's really the small acts that never get noticed that really is what this country is made of.
So tell me the premise, where you came up with this idea and what you're actually doing. You're putting people to the test.
Yeah, so about 5 years ago, I started following Jesus when I was 18 years old, but the Lord put on my heart, he goes, Jimmy, I want you to make videos where you ask strangers for help, and when they help you, change their life. And I was like, that's a pretty wild concept. I've never heard of that. And so I began just asking people for $1 at the gas station or for
pretending like you're homeless?
Yeah, just all types of things.
Would you dress the part?
Yeah, I would dress the part. I have different outfits and stuff I put on and basically just go everywhere from alleyways to Walmarts to laundromats. And that first kind stranger that helps me out, we then reward their kindness with $500. And the crazy thing is it doesn't stop there. It just begins. And millions of people online see these acts of kindness and go, you know what? I want to help this lady, this guy more. And so, just last week we raised over $400,000 for a couple living in their car.
You said it was a pastor?
Yeah.
So tell me that.
Yeah, so there's a pastor, 1-year-old daughter they were living in their car, just lost his full-time job, and I came up on them, and he immediately goes, I know who you are. And I was like, dang it, I can't do a kindness test on this guy. He knows who I am. And then I was like, actually, the fact that he was honest and wasn't trying to pretend like he didn't know me, I think he just passed the test, and it was the honesty test. And so I gave him $1,000 for his honesty. Him and his wife were just bawling their eyes out. And sure enough, I upload this video on YouTube, TikTok, and yeah, we raised over $400,000 for them, and they're off the streets now. So
and so your goal would be to see if people would help other people. And then in turn, they pass the honesty test, and then you reward them. And then you post that, and then you give people the opportunity to support that person.
Absolutely, because these people that have helped me out in these videos, you know, they've been living a lifestyle of kindness and have never been noticed for it, never been rewarded for it. And the Bible talks about don't grow weary in doing good, because in due season, God will reward you. And so it's so cool seeing these people that give their last $5 and they think that's all that's going to happen. And the next thing they know, they've got $50,000 to $100,000 coming in. And I like to say it's kind of the opposite of winning the Powerball. It's not, these people don't get a blessing on the foundation of greed trying to take, but they actually get a blessing on the foundation of generosity, which is, I think, why they're able to steward it so much better.
So you said you had a vision of this happening. How did that come across?
Yeah, just started following Jesus, and I deleted my old videos. I used to do crazy pranks and wild stuff when I was younger, party videos, and I just felt the Lord being like, yeah, I want you to use your gifts for me, but I want you to go and I want you to highlight the kindness that's in the country. There's so many things we hear in articles and this and that, but the truth is, if you just drive across the country in your car, go into gas stations, talk to people in stores, you'll find that so many Americans really have incredible hearts.
But some people blow you off, right?
Some people do, but honestly, a lot of them don't. And even if they do, I can understand, hey, it's a random guy coming up to you, you know, so we never highlight the people that say no. It's all about highlighting the one that says yes.
So here's an example of Sebastian, the blind broom salesman.
Yeah.
So let's listen.
How much for the brooms?
I got 1 for $6 or 2 for $10.
They pretty good brooms?
You know, I start sweeping, the floor looks dark. I'm done sweeping, it's still dark.
Right. Do you think you'd be able to do 1 for $5?
1 for $5?
Yeah, all I got is 5 on me right now.
Yeah, man.
Really? Thank you. How did you get started doing this?
I couldn't get a job, so I decided to create my own. No one would hire me. When I went to interviews, people first saw my cane, so they just gave it to someone who could see. And
so what's the hardest thing you've been through recently?
Discrimination to cancer.
Really, you have cancer?
Not me, my wife. But we're scared because she's 30 and her mom lost her life to cancer at the age of 46.
I would love to pray for her.
You know, prayer is better than money any day.
Oh my gosh. Well, guess what? I got $1,000 here for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I give you a hug?
Yes, yes.
So describe that situation.
Yeah, so Sebastian is a man who's on the corner in Mesa, Arizona, selling mops and brooms, and he's blind, and so
outdoors on the corner.
Yeah, so he just trusts that people give him the amount they're saying they're giving him. But I had heard stories of people stealing stuff from him, all this, and I was like, man, I want to go ask this guy for help. So sure enough, he gives me a discount on a broom. I give him $1,000, and a couple days later, I fly back into Arizona because I live in California to go surprise him. And I post on Instagram. I say, hey, come here if you want to be at the surprise. And sure enough, news stations showed up. We were able to surprise him with over $100,000. We had a line that was about 100 yards long of everyone buying out everything. And his dream was to be a car salesman, but no one would give him the shot because he was blind, and obviously it just didn't make a lot of sense. Well, a guy was there who owned a car dealership, and he goes, guess what? I'll hire you, Sebastian. The crowd goes crazy. He works there. He sold like 5 cars in his first month, and so It's a chapter in the book, the first blind car salesman in the state of Arizona.
Wow. So how many do you think you've done so far?
Oh, man, we've probably done hundreds of people. Yeah, I've been doing this for over 5 years, and it's been so encouraging, honestly. Just the people, all types of situations, any stereotypes getting broken. Like you really just anyone and everyone at any time, rich, poor, they have nice cars, they don't have anything. People are generous, and it's the most powerful thing in the world is thinking about others and not yourself.
And what's been reaction from your family?
Man, they encouraged me to do this. When my dad told me 5 years ago when I was sitting on his deck, I was working at his restaurant, Jimmy's in Walker, Minnesota, and I'm out on the deck. He goes, what do you want to do with your life? I go, well, I guess it must not be working for you. And so I said, well, if I could do anything, I mean, I know it's not a real job, but I'd like to be like Santa Claus year round, just go around, bless people, encourage them with the love of Jesus, you know, buy them homes, give them cars, but that doesn't exist. And he just looks at me dead serious and he goes, start tomorrow. I was like, well, what do you mean start tomorrow? And he goes, yeah, if you're serious about it, start tomorrow. So I got my Honda, drove across country, and just did with what I could, the $50 I had, the $100 I had, take someone parasailing, buy someone a meal, started recording these videos, and they grew and grew. And sure enough, now we've raised millions of dollars.
How big's your team?
It's just me, and my wife helps out here and there.
And who does the shooting? Who does the
I video it with like a hidden camera I wear. Yep, and I edit it, everything. Yeah.
Wow. And you were doing it originally just doing parties, and you knew you had it pretty good at that?
Yeah, I was doing wild stuff back in the day before I met the Lord. I was just, kid who went to church but never really knew following God didn't look like church attendance. It looked like relationship with Jesus. And when God got a hold of my heart when I was 18 years old, it changed everything. And I laid down my gift of videos, everything, and was a missionary living in India, Brazil, Australia. And that's when the Lord said, hey, I want you to go back into this, but I want you to do it for me.
So Undercover Kindness, saying yes to love, no to fear, and embracing the life-changing power of ordinary generosity is Jimmy Dort's book. The guy who asked people for help, then changes their lives. And the thing is, have you kept yourself anonymous enough? I know, like, for example, the Impractical Jokers.
Yeah.
They don't really, they're hysterical, but now everybody knows them. So it's hard for them to sneak up on people. How do you handle it?
Yeah, I honestly, so I use a hidden camera. So if you watch my videos, 99% of them, you never see my face. Yeah, it's not my face. It's like a first person view of the person. And then I just go up to people that aren't really young people that are, technologically savvy and on TikTok and stuff. So I go to people that seem, a little bit older, or I've picked up pretty good how to read people if they know who I am or not. And yeah, for the most part, I very rarely run into somebody that understands what's going on.
So give me an example, if you can, of like how you line up a potential situation. Sometimes you have to walk around for a while to get a subject.
Yeah. Sometimes I drive around in my car. Like I did a video where I was going to ask the first person to give me a hug, give them $500. And I drove around for 8 hours and never felt peace to go up to somebody. I just felt like the Lord was not that person, not that person. I'm driving home, the sun's setting. I'm like, God, you're crazy. Like, why you tell me to shoot this video, but no one you gave me peace about. And as I'm driving home, I see this guy and he's on a bike, and I feel like the Lord goes, that's the person. So I pull over, ask this guy for a hug. He stops his bike with his feet because he didn't even have brakes, gives me a hug. I go, man, thank you so much. I want to see the first person kind enough to take time to give me a hug and just encourage me. Here's $500. This grown man just starts weeping, and he ends up sharing that day at work, the boss paid everybody except for him, and he had gotten taken advantage of. And so, yeah, we raised over $40,000 for this guy.
And so a guy in a car pulls over a guy in a bike.
Yeah.
Who's got no brakes on his bike, and just for a hug, you do it, and then that's $500.
Yeah.
All these great stories are in Undercover Kindness with Jimmy Dort. Jimmy, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So why would we play this bump-in music and not fear that we're going to get sued? Because the award-winning composer, broadcaster, musician, and journalist is in studio, and he gave me the wink and a nod that I could do it. John Tesh is here. John, you wrote that with the NBA in mind? Did you write that?
Yeah, I mean, it was just 19.
It was a commission.
No, it wasn't a commission. It was 1990. I'm doing the Tour de France with David as an announcer,
right,
and also as a composer. I was writing music for it. And I heard through the sports grapevine that they were looking for a theme because NBC had just gotten the rights away from CBS. And I'm thinking, nobody knew me as a composer. I'm thinking, what would a theme sound like, right? So I woke up in the middle of the night, got this idea. The idea was, can. I called it into my answering machine back in the States. And then the middle section, and got back 2 weeks later, checked all my messages. I had 2, and I put the thing on my piano and figured out the chords and everything. I got some of my friends, violin players, stuff like that, the orchestra players, and they did a demo, sent it to Terry O'Neill and Tommy Roy, who were at NBC at the time, and they said, well, this will work. Right, and so that's how quickly it happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were not known as a musician at that.
No. I mean, I knew how to do sport. I was writing sports music, right? Because that's what I was writing for the tour. And so I knew, I guess the advantage for me was that I knew what the template should be. It needed a theme, and then it needed a handoff to the strings, and then it needed a bed so that Marv could go, yes, this today, this, that. And then at the end of it, you needed another bed so they could go, brought to you by whatever.
And now NBC's got it back. And
I know, it's a 35-year-old song.
Right, and they're using it.
Yeah.
So you have Roundball Rock. That's what you call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, but your new album is called Sports.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk to you about it because you're a sports guy. And you write books about sports too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually working on a sequel to The Games Do Count, which you were in.
Yeah, I get a lot of people mentioning that.
Lacrosse.
Right. Well, I was a lacrosse and soccer walk-on at NC State because the teams weren't very good.
What year did you graduate college?
I didn't graduate. I left in 1973. I was asked to leave because my dad sent me to school, enrolled. My dad was the vice president of the underwear division of Hanes. And so he wanted me to carry on the underwear legacy. And so he enrolled me at NC State in textile chemistry. I lasted for like 3 years. Then I took a radio and television course to try and raise my GPA, which was 1.9. And I got bit by the bug, and so I went to all my professors and tried to get them
Because you have this great voice. People must have been saying that to you your whole life.
It's maybe, yeah, but they all let me drop the course except for my statistics professor, who said we're past the drop ad date. You can't drop statistics. You have to stick it out. And so I did what one of my fraternity brothers said to do. Was I signed my professor's name to the drop ad card. And long story short, my dad got a letter from the chancellor of NC State saying I had broken the honor code. I was being suspended indefinitely. And then my dad kicked me out of the house. And so I lived in a tent in Raleigh for like 6 months working construction. I got a job sweeping the floors at WKIX Radio where Rick Dees was. One of the news guys showed up hammered, and they had nobody else to put on the air, and that's how the whole thing started for me.
Wow. And then how soon after, by the way, I had no idea. I mean, were you a good kid except for that moment? And was your dad unhappy with other things, or was it?
Have you ever seen The Great Santini?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's the fighter pilot who runs his family.
Sure.
So my dad. He was World War II. He was a chief petty officer, right? So he ran the family. There was a line in the sand. You didn't cross the line. So I wasn't surprised. People were always like, wow, your dad was really tough. Not really. I knew that if I did something like that, I'd be thrown out of the house. And so it was the best thing that ever happened to me, though.
Are you the same way as a parent?
No, I'm a total pushover. I mean, I'm a grandpa now of 3 kids between the ages of 14 and 9. And Connie takes care of my wife, Connie Seliger. She takes care of the hard stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Really?
What about you? What about you?
I'm not the great Santini. I kind of think I'm demanding. They have to answer for them. But
right. Do your kids watch you on TV?
I think they do now. Now that one of them's here,
right?
Now that she's and now I'm getting a million questions.
Yeah, well, they probably like it when Greg Gutfeld tries to make fun of you. Notice I said tries.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we have a good time at night. See, most of the time we tape that at like 6.
Yeah.
It's on at 10. If I'm up at 10, I got to be up at 2:30.
Right.
If I'm watching Gutfeld, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
So
gotcha.
I usually don't see it, so I don't live it. Plus, he takes shots at me when I'm not there. So you have to report to me
because he's half your height. That's why.
Yeah, absolutely. But you have to tell me because you're on the West Coast, so you could really be a benefit to me.
Yeah.
So what's happening now in California? Katie Porter's a shoo-in.
It's pretty messy. Yeah. It's pretty messy. Yeah. I mean, I have 2 high-powered fire hoses and a fire hose that pumps out of the pool. The fires almost took us down. It's pretty messy there. Yeah.
It's not rebuilding. It's very slow, right?
It's very, very slow. We're not happy with not to get too political, but we'd like to move to. We'd like to move somewhere, but Connie's and our mission is to stay as close to the grandkids as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing. You want to be part of their life.
Yeah. I mean, it's because pretty soon they're not going to know who we are. I mean, it's going to be like, whatever, pop up, And I've only been thrown out of 2 soccer games, which is amazing.
I can't imagine that.
My gosh, it was unbelievable. The first one was my 13-year-old. Somebody just ran over her, right? I mean, one of the other teammates, right? And there's only like 30 people at these games. I got a loud voice, and so I said, "That was a charge!" And there was a building. They just sort of bounced off all the buildings. It was a charge. It was a charge. So the ref stops the game, walks over to me, and says, "Obviously, you don't know anything about the game. That was not a charge." And so I did what I just should have just nodded and but what I said was, I said, I do actually know the rules of the game. Actually, I played D1 soccer, and he smiles and goes, "Well, Pop, the rules are a lot different than they were in your day." And that was it. I never should have said that. And it was just like everybody looked. My wife just peeled off. She just left me there, and I'm there with this guy, and he's just ripping me apart.
And did he recognize who you were?
No. I haven't been on television in years. Yeah, I mean, I go to Starbucks now, and people go, "Did you used to be John Tesh?" I said, "I'm not Brian Kilmeade."
No, you're still. I always tell you that, they always say success leaves clues. They go, when I was coming up, my news director came up to me and said, picture 2 people that you like on television. What do you like about them? And he asked me a million questions. He goes, on prompter, who's the best? And I go, the best ever is John Tesh on Entertainment Tonight. And he goes, great choice. Watch him every day. Make sure you don't miss his show. Tape it if you don't miss it. So I try to internalize the way you made the teleprompter conversational, the same way you do play-by-play. Was that a gift, or is that something you worked on?
It's definitely something I worked on. I mean, I spent I had tapes sent to me of Chuck Scarborough, who was anchoring here in town, right? And so that's really how I learned, and it's just repetition. Yeah.
So John, do you have Meet Bill Hemmer in person?
No.
Would you like to?
I'd love to.
All right, so don't forget to pick up his album. Download it now. It's titled Sports. John Tesh is brand new. He's an award-winning composer. He's really good at the piano. Don't move. Hey, welcome back, everybody. For a segment, I want to see if I can put 2 legends together. 2 of America's finest anchors. John Tesh, also in sports as well as news. And Bill Hemmer was started in sports and now is news. And John Tesh has never unplugged. He knows exactly what's going on. Your reaction, this is the first time you two have met?
First time I've ever met John.
Yeah, but I feel like I know you because you're the big board guy. You're the guy where my wife and I go, because you know my wife, Connie Selica. So we're both entertainers, and we look at you doing that thing, and we're like, she says to me, you could never do this. And I said, can we talk about something else?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
no, you could do it.
An audition.
Yeah, thanks. I probably don't remember this, but years ago, when I first came on the show on Fox and Friends, we were on the show and we were having a good time. And the producer comes to me afterwards and says, hey, would you substitute for one of the guys when they're on vacation? You were a newscaster.
Yeah.
And I said, no, because I really have no idea. I'm going to go on the show and something really bad's going to happen in Yemen, and I have no idea where it is. And she looked at me like, you poor soul.
But now you feel differently. Now you're pretty tapped in, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm so tapped in.
But don't you said you watch all the time.
It's a real honor meeting you.
You too.
Yeah, I mean, I've just followed you forever, and it's good to see you here.
Thank you.
Right on.
Thank you.
On top of this, Bill, he's got the Olympic background. Can we play the music again, Pete or Eric? You know who wrote this, the NBA theme, right?
Uh-huh.
So it is called Roundball Rock. And that's before he was known as a musician.
Is that right? So you did that with, you did that on computers, synthesizer?
No, I did it on my answering machine. I was telling Brian, 1990, I was working on the Tour de France, and I heard that NBC was looking for a theme, and I said, what would this sound like? And so I called it into my answering machine, and then when it ended up on Saturday Night Live, do you remember this thing where they Jason Sudeikis did like a whole spoof of the song? That's when it started coming back. So
and by the way, so NBC gets it back, and they bring back the song, and now he's got a brand new album out called Sports.
Yeah, it's the stuff that you'll work out to, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
No lyrics.
Do we have can I listen to it?
No. It's going to cost you. You cannot listen to it.
We don't have a sample. Come on. You brought a sample from that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can't you download? I mean, the Amazon thing is over.
I will. Check it out.
John, you must have been saying...
Where do you exercise? What did I do? Did I tell you? Oh, good. What is your exercise routine?
I do hot yoga.
Oh, gosh, really?
You can't have music to that.
They will never allow that.
Right.
Especially in this
It's also hard booking a band in hot yoga because everything gets so sweaty.
Yeah. So stuff like this.
Onto something.
I'm getting messages.
By the way, it's a little Rocky-esque,
really
right?
good.
Right. Well,
if there was a Rocky 8, that would be the theme
Did we
song.
stop at 7 or was it
I'm
5?
pretty sure. No, did we stop? I think, yeah.
Counting?
No, I
I
think we
think
went
it's
to
5.
Creed. I think we went to Creed.
Creed 1, 2, 3. I just finished watching those again. Yeah, so you got it. Rocky 4 soundtrack is my baseline for writing.
So let me ask you, Bill Hemmer, you got the sports background, the news background. Yes. John, you have entertainment, you have sports, and you have news. Do you find yourself staying up with entertainment? I feel like during your era with Access Hollywood, Entertainment Tonight, it was much more interest in the entertainment world. Now I feel like the reality world has taken over the celebrity world.
Yeah, it's a good question. Here's what happened. I was there from 86 to 96, right? And during that period at Entertainment Tonight, I would probably say from 86 to 90, I love the data. I love ratings. 23 million people a night were watching Entertainment Tonight.
23 million?
23 million
That's
people
what the AFC Championship game
it was like a 65 share or something like that. It was in Access, and then but then slowly but surely with social and everything, entertainment news became a commodity, And
what year did you start to recognize that decline?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. I would say probably 95, 96.
Wow.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Because that's when cable is just really starting to crank up.
Right,
because
exactly.
CNN was in its heyday.
Right, yeah.
Fox was coming on board a year later with MSNBC.
And I think YouTube was like in early 2000s.
That's changed everything, too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know what I think, John? I think in the digital age, I don't think anything that we have known will ever stay constant.
Yeah.
Like our business, we're well aware how quickly it's changing and other people get access to news and information. And I think as long as we're alive, that aspect of our life will always be in transition. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I also have to say, because I've got both of you here on my new show that I'm hosting right now with you, is that
you are the center. You're part of the center square.
Is that I believe that the broadcasters who start or at least have had some training in sports, like both of you, can do anything. Right, because you have to always be that far ahead. Do you agree?
I think it is especially beneficial in the cable news world.
Yeah.
Because like as sportscasters, your brain is trained to look at an image and tell your mouth what words to say.
Right, exactly.
And so it's a rolling play-by-play of what you're watching on a monitor.
Yeah.
And we do that for hours every day at a time.
And
it's a great advantage.
But don't you think also, John, the thing about Fox is they want your personalities to come out.
Right.
Well, you can't. It's hard to get the personality out if you're on prompter to prompter. If it's a news story to side, news story to reporter.
Fair.
What happens is the interaction with people, that's who you're encouraged to be yourself.
Yep.
You're not encouraged to be stiff and stay away from this. It's whatever happens with you and Dana in between. Whatever happens with you and Bret on election night. There's no manager or producer telling you what to say.
Well, that's true. Go ahead, John.
No, I was going to say that I guarantee you I watch more Fox News than you guys do. We watch all we watch all the time. We got it in the car, and I'm not just saying that. But what's fascinating, I'm not going to name any names. It's fascinating when there's somebody who's in an ad lib, so when they come on as an expert, right? Then all of a sudden they get their own show. You can see, and maybe it's just me because I've been doing that for so many years. You can see when they're learning how to use the prompter, right? Because it's tough. Yeah. I mean, I think it's tougher to ad lib, obviously. But the prompter stuff is.
See, with me, what helped me a lot was sports phone. To get you ready, if you could do sports, like sports or news talk, because there's no script, you have ideas of what you want to say. But sports phone, I do 40 hours a week before All Sports Radio, 976-1313. You do updates, every 7 minutes, 40 hours a week. But you do it with box scores and bullet points, and you try to look, that news story's got 7 seconds, I got 50 seconds left. I always felt, number one, I'm still trying to slow down because you try to get as much information as possible. But I always thought the fact that one of my first jobs was without a script was a huge help. Yeah, and then when I went on a script, that was a huge adjustment. I'm like, I know what to say. Like, no, we want you to say that. That was adjustment for me.
How do you develop a skill? Go ahead.
No. What's the question?
How do you develop a skill like what you do with the board when you're doing election night?
Fair
because
question.
you don't have one at home, right?
No.
I mean,
no, and I don't want one. I think practice and preparation is the best tool to utilize it the best on come election night. Yeah. I think the other thing is that you have to really know. You have to understand where the trap doors are in the software for the program.
Interesting.
And the reason for that is when you're flying through that sucker on election night, and you got real data in real time. And if you make a mistake or if the board makes a mistake, you have to know how and where to bail out in an instant.
Right.
And you can save an entire segment that way.
Right.
And I think the only way to see it is just run. Like when I leave with you guys today at 12:30, I'm going down the studio to start running through things for 14 days from now. Right. So we'll run through New Jersey, run through Virginia. I find that, you grew up in Jersey.
No, Long Island.
Long Island.
He can't stop with the Jersey
I'm
stuff.
sorry. I thought the first thing you said was Jersey City. So yeah, that's stuck in my brain. What I want to tell you guys is that we've never had to study New York City before. It's never been a contest.
Yes, yeah.
7 Democrats, every one Republican.
Right,
If it's not even higher than that. Studying the 5 boroughs of New York has been an absolute thrilling and fascinating ride for me, because I've lived here for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
But I didn't know where Sunnyside was in Queens.
Right, of course. Yeah.
Right. And if you look at the detailed maps for a borough like Brooklyn, 2.7 million people. Now you think about on election night, if this sucker's close. It might be, it might not be. If this is close and you're watching from my home state of Ohio, for example,
right,
and you hear that one borough has nearly 3 million people.
Right.
Think about the intensity of the humanity that lives there. So you can literally walk from neighborhood to neighborhood, and you can find yourself transposed between different religions, different language, every ethnicity on the planet. Yeah. Queens has 160 languages. The deeper we go, the more I learn and the more fascinated I am by it, because there's so much nuance to what happens with 8.5 to 9 million people who live in such a small area.
But how about this?
Fascinating.
How about the fact that he won the primary with 400,000 votes?
Yeah.
So people say, well, that's what happens. He's going to win by 20. Who's going to catch up to him? Well, what if all these people decide this is the one election I want to vote in? Because it's usually the die has been cast.
Can I tell you?
Sliwa against Adams is not really going to get me to the polls. I know who's going to win.
Yeah.
But this might be different.
In the early 90s, John, when you lived in New York, turnout in 1993, it was 57%. Ever since then, it's on a steady decline every year.
Yeah.
And I think 4 years ago, I think we had about 21% turnout in New York.
Yeah, de Blasio got elected by 11 people.
I think there's going to be massive turnout. Yeah. And polls close at 9 o'clock, kind of late for an East Coast time zone. And I think the Board of Elections has to really be careful here. They have to be ready for a massive influx of people that they haven't seen in 30 years.
Good. We hate to have a controversial election because that never happens. That's all we need.
How does the no king stuff play into this coming up here?
I don't think it does. I think those people are either Mamdani or Cuomo anyway, and nothing much is going to change their mind. They don't have another option. Yeah. So I would say not much.
Do you think most of the No Kings protesters actually know what they're protesting?
It's a fair question. I did not hear free Palestine in any one of the rallies because for the moment that has been, how would we say, alleviated for the
because
moment.
They have to think, and then we don't know what's going on, and we have to cheer for Hamas executing Palestinians. I will
say that one thing I think that was highly offensive for all Americans, and I'm not taking away from what they did. I don't know if they had 5 million people or 9 million people. We can debate numbers on another day.
Right.
But I saw so many signs talking about fascism and fascists, and we're just a month and a half removed from this killer of Charlie Kirk in Utah. And I look, you can do and you can say what you want, but I just found that highly offensive.
Right. But boy, these protests are huge. I mean, it seemed to be to me.
Well, I'll put it this way. You have all these people. There are a lot of people voted for Kamala Harris. They decided to come out and vote. The No Kings doesn't even apply. If there was a king, I don't think the president would be going up the chain to find out if he could put National Guard in Portland or in Chicago. I don't think that, what's his name, who just had a press conference before, Khalil? Khalil just had a press conference before. Yeah, Mahmoud Khalil just had a press conference. President Trump is still trying to throw him out of the country for his antics at Columbia and violating his visa operations. That's usually not how kings work, according to the history books I've been involved in.
I think Democrats, John, have been trying for months now to push back on Trump on something, and this is the something they have found.
Yeah.
Right. Are you against or for the robbery at the Louvre? Do you have any?
I don't have a comment.
Right.
No.
Napoleon?
I think the clues are in the truck they left behind outside.
Yeah.
Unless it was stolen, I mean, you're going to be able to trace that thing.
Right. Of course, they always check your credit rating when you have to rent a crane.
How do you, let's get back into inside baseball here. How do you guys, because you're always on the air, how do you stay up? I mean, is your phone like always on and you're always updating yourself?
It is for me, Brian. I assume the same.
I mean, people like you're on the phone. I'm only on the phone checking the news and perspectives and find out what's going on. I'm not on the phone like scrolling. But I'm interested. I'm not embarrassed. In the beginning, people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, now I just tell people, this is what I like doing. Even on vacation. I'll take some time, but for the most part, I cannot let a day go by without knowing what's going on. Because at some point on this show or another show, there'll be a gap. Yeah. I'm like, well, you heard what happened before. You remember how it started? And I'll be like, well, those are the 2 days I was on vacation.
100%.
That doesn't work. You can't take a day off.
100%. Do you guys have family rules as to when you can be on and off?
I try to put some rules on myself for like 4 hours at a time on a Saturday because I love to play golf because it allows my mind to unwind and get away from it. Yeah. But like yesterday, I was at a charity function in Tunnel to Towers and I was itching to like, well, you know, I have to check my text messages. I got to check the email to make sure that I scroll through X and make sure that Dana doesn't hit me with a question the next day that I haven't heard about.
Right. Just toss a break in case of emergency. John Tesh, do you like Bill Hemmer? So I have to go to break now, but has this been a good meeting? I mean, I really see the beginning of a friendship. I can see you keep it in touch.
There's a song on the album, on the sports album called Legendary. It's just that's him.
And to get John's album, go to johntesh.sports. Roundball Rock's included in that, and the name of his album is called Sports, correct?
Yes.
John Tesh.
Yes.
Thanks so much. Multi-talented.
Both you guys. Yeah.
I was old junior high, 8th grade. No one talks about that. I don't know why.
You're all junior high?
Yes.